Welcome to this new video lecture called as kinematics. I myself Sasibhushan Bhimavarapu, working as assistant professor in physics at Sri Vasavi Engineering College, Tadepalligudem in Andhra Pradesh. If you like the video, please click on the like button and subscribe the channel here. Now, jumping into the video lecture, let us see what we are going to learn in this video lecture here. This is the overview which we are going to learn in this chapter. The first part is the introduction of this chapter, or the terms which we are going to use in the chapter here. Then equations of motion, that is the linear equations of motion, equations of motion of a freely falling body, equations of motion of a body which is vertically thrown upwards, equations of a body which is vertically thrown from a top of a tower, horizontal projection from a top of a tower, then projectile and equations of motion of a projectile. Now let us quickly start with the introduction part here. Now this kinematics comes under the branch of physics called as mechanics. Mechanics is nothing but it is the study of the objects which are in motion. Motion of object has two states, that is object at rest and object in motion. So both the study of the object which is in rest and which is in motion comes under the branch of physics called as mechanics. Now the branch of science which deals with the body which is in rest is called as statics, and the branch of physics which deal with a body which is in motion are classified as two types. One is kinematics and another one is dynamics. Now coming to the statics, it is the study of the objects which are at rest. Kinematics is the study of the objects which are in motion, that is without considering the factors which are causing that motion. That is, we don't consider any force while the body is in motion. We'll consider only the aspects which are involved with the motion, that is velocity, displacement made by the body, acceleration of the body, and those type of things in kinematics. The third part is called as dynamics. It is the study of the objects which are in motion. We will consider the factors which are causing the motion also apart from the things, that is velocity, displacement, acceleration. Also the factors which are causing that motion, that is the which force is causing it, what is that force, how much force is acting on it. So all these will be taken into consideration in this type of study. So that is called as dynamics. Now in this chapter we'll consider only on the kinematics part here, that is only the study of the objects which are in motion. We don't consider about the other things here, that is the factors which are causing the velocity in those objects here. So we'll strictly adhere to the velocity, the displacement made by the body, and the acceleration in the body. So let us quickly enter into the chapter. Before entering into the chapter, we'll just go through the basic definitions which we are going to use in this chapter here. Let us quickly go through this introduction part here. So which we have learned in your earlier classes, that is in your 8th class or 9th class or in 10th class here. So first one is called as the displacement. Displacement is defined as the change in position of a body with respect to the time. Displacement is defined as the change in position of a body with respect to time. Then second one is called as velocity. The displacement covered by a body in unit time, or it can also be defined as the rate of displacement of a body. By definition, the equation is velocity is equal to displacement upon time. That is, velocity is equal to displacement divided by time. Velocity is a vector quantity and the unit is a meter per second. Velocity is again different types of velocities are there. Coming to the first part here, it is called as the uniform velocity. A body can have two types of velocities, a uniform velocity and non-uniform velocity. So let us skip that part, the non-uniform velocity for time being, and let us see only the uniform velocity. Uniform velocity is defined as that if the body covers equal distances in equal intervals of time, it is called as uniform velocity. Then a body can have two types of velocities, that is the initial velocity and the final velocity. Initial velocity is denoted by small u and final velocity is denoted by small v. Initial velocity is nothing but the velocity of the body at the starting point, and final velocity is the velocity acquired by the body at the end point. So this is in this slide we had learned about displacement, velocity, uniform velocity, initial velocity and final velocity here. Coming to the next part, that is the acceleration. Acceleration is nothing but it is the rate of change of velocity. It is defined as the rate of change of velocity. According to the definition, acceleration is equal to change in velocity by time. It is defined as the change in velocity divided by time. Acceleration is also a vector quantity and the units are meter per second square. Now, if the body acquires a uniform velocity, then the acceleration acquired by the body is called as uniform acceleration. Or it can also be defined as if the velocity of the body changes in equal intervals of time, then it is called as uniform acceleration. As said, it is a vector quantity and the units are meters per second square. Now, entering into the second part, which is the equations of motion of a body which is in linear motion. That is, equations of motion of a body which is in straight line motion. That is, the body is moving along a straight line, that is called as linear motion. These equations of motion we have learned in our earlier classes, that is in our 9th class here. Let us just quickly recap those equations of motion. Now, let us consider a body is moving along a straight line for t seconds, and let the initial velocity, that is the velocity before starting at a point, that is called as the initial velocity, let it be u. Let the final velocity of the body is v, that is the final velocity acquired, that is the velocity acquired by the body at its end point, let it be v. As we all know that there is a change in velocity here. It has some initial velocity and it has some final velocity. If there is a change in velocity, the body will have acceleration. So let the acceleration be a. Now, since the body is moving from one point to another point and in a particular time, the body makes some displacement. Let the displacement covered by the body is S. Now consider this example. A body starts from point A and ends at point B. That is the distance acquired or the traveled by the body is AB, which is called as the displacement, which we are considering it as S. Now the velocity at point A is called as initial velocity, which we are considering it as U here. And the velocity acquired by the body at the end point, that is at point B, is called as final velocity, and we are considering it as V. Therefore, from the definition of the acceleration, that is acceleration is equal to change in velocity divided by time. Now the change in velocity is nothing but it is the difference between final velocity minus initial velocity. Therefore, the definition becomes acceleration is equal to final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time. That is, A is equal to V minus U divided by T. Now if the T goes here, it becomes A into T. You will get AT is equal to V minus U. Or if you take U to this side, it becomes V is equal to U plus AT, which is called as the first equation of motion. This is the first equation of motion. V is equal to U plus AT. Let us go into the second equation of motion here. Now, average displacement made by the body is given by the formula average velocity into time. Now, how can we get the average velocity? The final velocity is V and the initial velocity is U. There are two velocities are there. If you want to find the average, then two velocities are there. Initial velocity plus final velocity divided by 2 into time. Therefore, it is given as S is equal to V plus U divided by 2, which is the average velocity into T, or V plus U is equal to, if you take 2 here and a T this side, you will get V plus U is equal to 2S by T. Just remember this equation. We'll use this equation for acquiring the next equation of motion. So you have to remember this equation, that is V plus U is equal to 2S upon T. Now upon further, we know that V is equal to U plus AT from first equation of motion. So if you substitute that value of V here in this equation, you get U plus AT plus U. In this equation, if you substitute the value of V from the first equation of motion, you will get S is equal to U plus AT plus U divided by 2 into T. Now, U plus U, it is 2U plus AT into T. You will get 2UT plus AT square divided by 2. Upon further, you can get S is equal to UT plus half AT square, which is the second equation of motion. This is the second equation of motion. For third equation of motion, you have to consider V plus U is equal to 2S by T and V minus U is equal to AT. We will be considering these two equations for our third equation of motion. Let us see the third equation of motion. From the first equation, we get V minus U is equal to at. And in the second equation, from second equation, we get v plus u is equal to 2s into t. If you multiply the left hand side, we get v minus u into v plus u is equal to at into 2s by t. If t cancels here, you will get 2as, and v minus u into v plus u gives you v square minus u square is equal to 2as, which is the third equation of motion. Now, for fourth equation of motion, which is called as the displacement covered in nth second. That is the displacement covered by a body in a particular second. Now, here, please do not confuse with the second equation of motion, which gives the displacement, that is s is equal to ut plus half a t square, and the fourth equation of motion, that is the displacement covered in nth second. Now, there is a difference between these two here. Now, the displacement covered, that is s is equal to ut plus half a t square, that is the displacement, covered by the body in total time t seconds. The fourth equation is the distance or the displacement covered by the body or an object in a particular second. For that, we use the second equation of motion, that is s is equal to ut plus half a t square, and the time, let it be, we'll take time as two segments here. Let the displacement traveled be in n seconds and the displacement traveled in n minus 1 seconds. So the displacement traveled in n seconds, we'll get it from the second equation of motion, that is s is equal to ut plus half a t square. Let it be s1, and the displacement traveled in n minus 1 second. So if you subtract these two equations, you will get the displacement made by a body in a particular second. So let S1 is the displacement traveled in n seconds, and S2 be the displacement traveled in n minus 1 seconds. Then the displacement in the nth second is given by Sn is equal to S1 minus S2. Let us find out S1 and S2, and then we will subtract them. So S1 is equal to, substituting the value n, in place of t you will get un plus half a n square, and S2 is equal to u into n minus 1. Now the time is n minus 1 here, so u into n minus 1 plus half into a into n minus 1 whole square. And expanding this equation and simplifying step by step, we can find out the S2 value be un minus u plus half an square plus a by 2 minus an. So for finding out the displacement made in the nth second, that is Sn is equal to S1 minus S2. This is the S1 value, un plus half an square here, minus S2, this is un plus u minus half an square minus a by 2 plus an, and simplify it, you will get Sn is equal to u plus a into n minus half, where n is the time here. Sn is the displacement made in the nth second by the object. This is the fourth equation of motion. So these are the four equations of motion here. That is, the first one is v is equal to u plus at, s is equal to ut plus half at square, v square minus u square is equal to 2as, and Sn is equal to u plus a into n minus half. These are the four equations of motion of an object which is moving in a straight line. Now, using these equations, we will find out equations of motion of a freely falling body and equations of motion of a body which is vertically thrown upwards. Let us quickly see the equations of motion of a freely falling body. Now, if you just see the picture here, this ball is freely falling from this hand. Now, if you consider this, the body is at rest before falling. Therefore, the initial velocity is 0 for any freely falling body. It has to be taken into consideration. It has to be noted that the initial velocity is 0 for a freely falling body. Now let us see why a body freely falls. The body is falling freely because due to the Earth's gravitational force. Any body falls freely from a height is due to the Earth's gravitational Earth's gravitational force. Acceleration due to gravity. Here another important point which we have to learn is acceleration due to gravity. That is the acceleration acquired by any object due to the Earth's gravitational force, and it is defined as it is denoted as small g here. Coming back to the equations, we have to consider some aspects here. That is the which we have discussed earlier, that for any body which is freely falling, it will be at rest at starting. So the initial velocity will be 0. It will acquire the maximum velocity at its end point. So the final velocity will be v. During its travel, since there is a change in velocity, the velocity here at the starting point is 0 and the velocity at the end point is v. There is a change in velocity here. It will acquire some acceleration, and this acceleration, that is the increase in velocity, is due to the Earth's gravitational force. Therefore, the acceleration acquired by this object is due to the Earth's gravitational force, which is called as acceleration due to gravity, and A is considered as plus g. Again, why it is called as plus g? Because acceleration due to gravity is a vector quantity, and this body, the motion of the body, is along the Earth's gravitational force. So that's why it is considered as plus. A is equal to plus g, and the displacement here is called as the height. Therefore, S is equal to h. Substituting these values in the four equations of motion, you will get again the equations of motion of a freely falling body. Let us first substitute these values in the first equation of motion, that is v is equal to u plus at. Substituting u is equal to 0, a is equal to g, and t, you will get v is equal to gt. That is the first equation of motion of a freely falling body. Now substituting these values in the second equation of motion, that is s is equal to ut plus half at square, you will get h is equal to 0 into t plus half gt square, or h is equal to half gt square. That is the second equation of motion of a freely falling body. And substituting these values in the third equation of motion, that is v square minus u square is equal to 2as, you will get v square is equal to 2gh, which is the third equation of motion of a freely falling body. And the fourth one, Sn is equal to u plus a into n minus half. If you substitute these values, we will get Sn is equal to g into n minus half. So these are the four equations of motion of a freely falling body. These are the 4 equations of motion of a freely falling body. Now, going to the next part, that is the equations of motion of a body which is vertically thrown upwards. Now, when the title itself says that equations of motion of a body vertically thrown. Thrown means you are applying some force for throwing that object upwards. So it means you are giving some initial velocity here. So apart from in the previous case, that is the equations of a freely falling body, there that the freely falling body does not contain, or the initial velocity of a freely falling body is 0, whereas there will be some initial velocity for a body which is vertically thrown upwards, because a body cannot go upwards without some force given by anything, anybody or a person or some other means. So there will be some initial velocity there. So what happens when you throw any object upwards? It travels with a decreasing velocity. Since you had given some initial velocity to that object here, the object is moving upwards, but the Earth's gravitational force is acting downwards here. So Earth's gravitational force is pulling the body while the object is going upwards. So naturally, the body's velocity will be decreasing, and at a point called as a maximum height, the velocity becomes 0 here. The velocity becomes 0 here. This is called as a maximum height. Now, after that, the body acts like a freely falling body and falls down back. So when you consider the object which is thrown vertically upwards, it will have an initial velocity u, but final velocity 0. Since the body is moving upwards, but the acceleration is acting downwards, both are in opposite directions, we will consider acceleration, or the body is traveling with a decreasing velocity, then the body will acquire deceleration, that is a negative acceleration here. Therefore, we'll consider the acceleration as minus g here. Let us see here. So u is equal to, there will be an initial velocity here, and the final velocity will be 0, considering a as a minus g, the displacement as h, and substituting in the first equation of motion, that is v is equal to u plus at, you will get u is equal to gt, that is the first equation of motion. Then substituting these values in the second equation of motion, that is s is equal to ut plus half at square, you will get h is equal to ut minus half gt square. This is the second equation of motion for a body which is vertically thrown upwards. Then substituting these values in the third equation of motion, that is v square minus u square is equal to 2as, you will get u square is equal to 2gh, which is the third equation of motion of a body which is vertically thrown upwards. And substituting in Sn is equal to u plus a into n minus half, you will get Sn is equal to u minus g into n minus half, which is the fourth equation of motion. So these are the four equations of motions for a body which are thrown vertically upwards. Whereas when a body, there are some other factors which has to be considered when a body is vertically thrown upwards. Now, as we had already discussed this in the earlier slides, that when a body is thrown upwards, it travels with a decreasing velocity, finally attains a velocity, final velocity 0, and from there it falls back, or it falls like a, it acts like a freely falling body. Therefore, the displacement or the height made by that body is called as the maximum height. It is called as H max. That is called as H max here. And the time taken by the body to reach the maximum height from the ground or the point of projection is called as a time of ascent. Ascent means inclining or going upwards. So the time taken by the body to go upwards, that is called as the time of ascent. And the time taken by the body from maximum height to reach the ground is called as the time of descent. Descent means declining or coming from height to downwards here. Let us see each and every part here. So the first one is the maximum height. Let us see the equation for maximum height here. So it is, as I already said, the maximum height traveled by a body which is vertically thrown upwards, that is called as maximum height. So for maximum height, the values are, because it is thrown from the ground, it will have some initial velocity. At a maximum height, the final velocity will be 0. Since it is going upwards, the acceleration is a negative, so a is equal to minus g, and the displacement covered by this object, it is called as a h max. Substituting these values in the third equation of motion, that is v square minus u square is equal to 2as, you will get u square is equal to 2gh into h max, or h max is equal to u square by 2g. That is the maximum height, equation for maximum height for a body which is vertically thrown upwards. Now let us see the equation for the time of ascent. The time of ascent is it is defined as the time taken by a body to reach the maximum height from the point of projection or from the ground, whatever it is. So this is called as the time of ascent. It is the time taken by a body to reach the maximum height from the point of projection. Again, it is going upwards, so there will be initial velocity, the final velocity will be 0, acceleration will be negative, the time t is called as a ta. So substituting these values in the first equation of motion, that is v is equal to u plus at, you will get those values, that is ta is equal to u by g, that is the time of ascent. Now let us see, let us find the value for time of descent here. The time of descent is defined as, it is a time taken by a body to reach the ground from maximum height. So the time taken by the body to reach the ground from the maximum height is called as time of descent. Now for the time of descent, the values will be something different, because it is acting as a freely falling body, because at the maximum height the initial velocity of the object will be 0, there will be a final velocity here, acceleration, because it is coming down towards the earth, the acceleration will be s, so the acceleration will be plus g, and s, or the displacement is the maximum height, and time t is equal to td, or it is called as time of descent. Substituting these values in the equation, s is equal to ut plus half at square, and simplifying it, we will get TD is equal to U by G, which is nothing but time of ascent. Now, so time of ascent is equal to time of descent here. Now, the time taken by the body to reach the ground after the body is projected or vertically thrown upwards is called as time of flight, and it is defined as if you throw a body upwards, it will travel from here to here, then the body will travel from here to here. So the total time taken is nothing but sum of time of ascent and time of descent, which is called as time of flight. The time of flight is defined as the time taken by the body to reach the ground after its projection. It is called as time of ascent plus time of descent. Here we know that time of ascent is U by G and time of descent is equal to U by G. So the time of flight T is 2U by G. So these are the equations of motion of a body which are vertically thrown upwards. Now you have 4 equations of motion for a body which is in linear motion, that is traveling in a straight line. 4 equations of motion for a body which is freely falling, and apart from 4 equations of motion for a body which is vertically thrown upwards, you have additionally maximum height, time of ascent, time of descent, and time of flight. Now, these are the equations of motion, different equations of motion for a body which is in linear motion, which is freely falling, and which is vertically thrown upwards. So you have to remember all these formula for solving out the problems in this chapter here. So let us move into the next part, that is displacement of a body which is vertically thrown from a tower of height h. Now, in our earlier examples, we had considered only a body which is moving on the ground, that is the linear motion, a body which is freely falling from a height, then a body which is vertically thrown upwards from ground. Now what happens if a body is vertically thrown upwards from a tower of height h? So in this case we will find out the displacement of the body made when it is thrown vertically upwards from a tower of height h. Let us consider there is a tower of height h, capital H here. A person standing on this tower thrown an object vertically upwards like this here. So the body travels to a height small h, then when its velocity becomes 0, the body falls from here to the ground here. Therefore, the total distance covered by the object is this. This is the total distance covered by the object here. Now, if you dissect or if you see the distance here, this is height h, this is height h, and from here it is capital H here. Now, but since it is the displacement, the height is nothing but it is the displacement covered by the body here, and the displacement is in 2 directions here. This is one direction and this is another direction here. So the displacement in this direction is considered as positive, and the displacement here in this direction is considered as negative, because this is the direction of projection. Since this is the direction of projection, this height or the displacement made in this direction is considered as a positive, and the displacement considered made by the object in this direction is considered as negative here. So the total displacement here in this direction is minus of h plus capital H. So up to here the displacement is, so from here to here the displacement is a small h, and from here to here it is capital H. So the total displacement here is h plus h, but since it is in the opposite direction to that of the projection, this is the direction of projection. Since this direction is opposite to that direction, this height will be considered as minus here. So the total displacement covered by the body is h minus of h plus h. It should be h minus of h plus h. So substituting these values in the equation S is equal to ut plus half at square, you will get the displacement here. So here minus h minus h will be cancelled and you will find minus h here. So minus h is equal to ut minus half gt square, or you will get a capital H is equal to half gt square minus ut. That is the displacement made by the body which is thrown vertically upwards from the height of a tower, h. Next, let us see a projectile. A projectile is nothing but an object which is thrown upwards with an angle other than 90 degrees with the horizontal. That is called as a projectile. Now, we had considered two cases: a body which is freely falling from a height and a body which is vertically thrown upwards. What happens if you throw any object with some angle with the horizontal? Horizontal is nothing but the earth. So if you throw any object with an angle to the horizontal, it is called as a projectile. Now, for example, a football kicked by a player, ball hit with a bat, or a stone thrown, or the examples for projectile here. Now, this projectile can be in two ways. One is horizontal projection and another one is called as oblique projection. Now, consider the horizontal projection here. Now, what is horizontal projection? Is when you throw a body horizontally from a height. That is, you are on a tower of height h as shown in this picture, and you had thrown an object with a velocity u horizontally like this. Now that body travels in a parabolic path and reaches the ground at B. So it travels in parabolic path because there is an acceleration due to gravity or the gravitational force acting on that object. So it pulls the object and the object travels in a parabolic path and reaches the ground. So any object which is horizontally thrown parallel to the horizontal, which is the horizontal, if you throw parallel to the horizontal with an initial velocity, that body will travel in parabolic path and reaches the ground. We'll prove it in the next slides here. So this is an example, that is a bomb dropped from an aeroplane. It travels in a parabolic path and reaches the ground. So that is the best example for a horizontal projection. Now, coming to the oblique projection here, if any body is projected with some velocity at an angle other than 0 and 90 degrees, So we are throwing an angle. If you throw with an angle of 0 degrees, it is called as horizontal projection. And if you throw any object with 90 degrees, then the equations of motion are that we have derived in the previous slides for the vertically thrown object. So this is called as an oblique projection. Example, hitting a ball with a bat. If you hit a ball with a bat, it travels in a parabolic shape and reaches the ground. If you hit a ball with a bat, it travels in a parabolic path and reaches the ground. It is an example for oblique projection. So let us see first one, a path of horizontally projected body here. So if you remember the example which we had discussed in the earlier slides, that if a body is thrown horizontally with some velocity here, let the velocity be v, it reaches the ground like this. So in this in its path, the horizontal velocity component. Now according we had considered in vectors, we were taught that any object can be resolved into two components. One is the horizontal vector component, another one is the vertical vector component here. Now here, at any path of its travel, a body, if you consider different points here, at each and every point, the direction of the velocity is the resultant of its two components, velocity components, that is the horizontal vector component and vertical velocity component, called as ux and uy here. Ux is the horizontal velocity component. Vy is the vertical velocity component. If you consider the path made by the object here, at any point there is a change in the vertical velocity component, but there is no change in the horizontal velocity component. The horizontal velocity component is always constant. There is no change in the horizontal velocity component, but there will be constantly change in the vertical velocity component as acceleration due to gravity is acting on it. So since acceleration due to gravity is acting on that, the vertical velocity component changes from point to point. Also, at any point, the velocity, direction of the velocity, since velocity is a vector, the direction of the velocity is the resultant of these two vectors. Since the resultant can be, we can find the resultant of these two vectors by using the parallelogram law of vectors. So it will be the resultant of these two vectors. Always the velocity is the resultant of these two components, that is the horizontal velocity component and the vertical velocity component. So the horizontal velocity component is given as u cos theta, which we have learned in the vectors and scalars, and the vertical velocity component uy is given by u sin theta. Now let us prove that the path traveled by the horizontally projected body is a parabola. We have to prove that the path is parabola. We had seen in examples, we had seen it, but in physics you need proof for everything. You have to prove it that it is a parabola. It travels in the path of a parabola, as we had seen in the earlier slides here. So let us see, along the horizontal direction, the velocity is constant, which we had discussed now only. At any point, Therefore, the initial velocity component is equal to u cos theta, time is equal to t, and the horizontal displacement made by the body, let it be x. Therefore, according to the definition, horizontal displacement is equal to horizontal velocity into time. That is equal to x is equal to the horizontal velocity is u cos theta. The time taken by the object is t, or t is equal to x by u cos theta. Let it be equation 1. Now let us consider along the vertical direction here. In the vertical direction, the initial velocity will be 0. Since the velocity at the initial point, all the velocity is along the horizontal direction only, there will be no initial velocity along the vertical direction. Therefore, initial velocity is 0, time is t, and the displacement is h. In the vertical direction, the displacement made by the object is height, that is h. Therefore, substituting these values in the equation, s is equal to ut plus half at square, you will get h is equal to half gt square. Substituting the value of t from equation 1, here you will get h is equal to half g into x by u cos theta whole square, since t is equal to x by u cos theta from equation 1. On simplifying this equation, you will get h is equal to g by, since it is a whole square here, you will get x square by u square cos square theta. On simplifying that equation, get h is equal to g by 2 u square cos square theta into x square. So I had simplified this equation and rearranged by taking x outside of this equation. Now, if you consider this part, that is g by 2 u square cos square theta as a, if you consider this equation as a, you will get h is equal to ax square. Now, this is the equation of a parabola in mathematics. Therefore, the path traveled by a body, h is the displacement here, we consider it as displacement here. So the displacement or the path traveled by a body when it is horizontally projected is a parabola. We had seen this in the examples in the previous slides also. So that is about the horizontal projection. So in projectile, we had seen two types of projections. One is horizontal projection and another one is the oblique projection. We had seen the examples for them also. So for horizontal projection, we had proved that the path traveled by a body which is thrown horizontally from a height, it travels in a parabolic path and reaches the ground. So mathematically, we had proved the path traveled is a parabola. Now it's time to prove for a body which is also in oblique motion. So let us see, let us consider a body which is in the oblique projection. So what is an oblique projection here? Consider a body is thrown with an angle theta, making an angle theta with the horizontal as shown in this figure. So let the body is thrown with an initial velocity u here. So the body travels like this. After it reaches the maximum height where its velocity becomes 0 and it falls back in this direction. So the body travels in the path of a projectile, path of a parabola. So this projectile travels in the path of a parabola and reaches the ground. Now again here the horizontal the velocity u is divided into two components. The velocity u is considered in two components, that is the horizontal velocity component u cos theta, vertical velocity component u sin theta. From the point of projection to the maximum height, the vertical velocity component decreases gradually and reaches 0 at the maximum height. Then from maximum height to the ground, again the vertical velocity component increases gradually. However, the horizontal velocity component throughout its journey is constant. It is constant throughout its journey, and the distance covered by the projectile, the horizontal distance covered by the projectile on the ground, is called its range. This is called as its horizontal range. So let us quickly jump into the to prove that path of a projectile is a parabola here. So consider a body which is thrown with an angle theta with initial velocity u, making an angle theta with the horizontal here. So theta is the angle between the velocity and the horizontal here. So this velocity is divided into two components, the horizontal velocity components as u cos theta and the vertical velocity component uy is equal to uy sin theta. Now the uy sin theta from the point of projection to the maximum height, it decreases gradually and becomes 0 at maximum height. And from maximum height, see here uy is equal to 0, and from maximum height again it gradually increases and becomes maximum at the ground here. However, the horizontal velocity component, that is ux is equal to u cos theta, is constant at any point throughout its path. So using these terms and equations which were considered here, that is ux is equal to u cos theta, uy is equal to u sin theta, angle is a theta here, at maximum height uy is equal to 0, and ux is equal to u cos theta is constant at any place. Using all these terms, let us prove that the path of a projectile in oblique projection is a parabola. So for that, let us consider along the horizontal direction. Its velocity is constant, which we had discussed here, and initial velocity along the horizontal direction. Since we are considering the horizontal direction here, the velocity in horizontal direction is u cos theta, the time taken is t, and the horizontal displacement is x. Therefore, from the definition, horizontal displacement is equal to horizontal velocity into time. That is, x is equal to u cos theta, which is horizontal velocity, time is t, or t is equal to x by u cos theta. Let it be equation 1. Now, along the vertical direction, the initial velocity, it is u sin theta, time is t, acceleration a is equal to, since it is in the vertical direction, a will be taken as minus g. Since it is in the vertical direction, it will be, the displacement will be y. So substituting these values in the equation of motion, s is equal to ut plus half at square, we will get y is equal to u sin theta minus half gt square. Now we know from the previous slide that the equation, the value of t is x by u cos theta. So substituting the value of t in this equation, we get u sin theta into x by u cos theta minus half g into x by u cos theta whole square. Since there is a t square here, we'll take x by u cos theta whole square, or it is x square by u square cos square theta. So in the next step, y is equal to u sin theta divided by u cos theta into x. I am making these thetas and x as separate here, and I am taking out this x square from this equation, writing it separately, g by 2 u square cos square theta into x square. Now u by sin theta into u cos theta is equal to tan theta, and g by 2 u square cos square theta. Now if you consider, let this value be a and let this value be b. Consider, let tan theta is equal to a and g by 2 u square cos square theta as b. Then the equation becomes, second equation, equation 2 becomes y is equal to ax minus bx square. So this is the equation, y is equal to ax minus bx square. Again, the above equation is the equation of a parabola, and hence the path of a projectile in oblique projection is a parabola. So if a body is projected with an angle not 0 and 90 degrees with the horizontal, travels a parabolic path and reaches the ground. So this is the path of a projectile in oblique projection. Again, here, since you had thrown this object here, it travels with a decreasing vertical velocity component up to maximum height, and with increasing velocity component from the maximum height. So you have to find out the maximum height, then time taken by the body to reach the maximum height, which is called as a time of ascent, time taken by the body to reach the ground from maximum height, which is the time of the descent, then the time of the flight, that is the time taken by a body to reach the ground after its projection, which is nothing but the time of ascent plus time of descent, that is the time of flight, then the horizontal range covered by the body. That is the equations of motion of the body which is in oblique projection. So let us find out the maximum height here. So for that we will consider, since it is in the maximum height, we will consider the initial velocity u in this direction, that is in the vertical direction, that is u sin theta. Since at maximum height final velocity will be v0, so we consider v is equal to 0. Since it is maximum height, it is in the vertical direction, the acceleration is considered as minus g, and the displacement is h max here. Substituting these values in v square minus u square is equal to 2as, we will get 0 square minus u square is equal to 2 into minus g into h max. Since we want to find out the h max, that is the maximum height, it will be minus u square sin square theta by 2g. So h max is equal to u square sin square theta by 2g. If you remember, if we consider theta is equal to 90 degrees here, what happens is sin theta is equal to, or theta is equal to 90 degrees, sin 90 is equal to 1. Hence the equation becomes h max is equal to u square by 2g, which is nothing but the maximum height of a body which is thrown vertically upwards. So in this equation, if you keep theta is equal to 90 degrees, you will get the equation for the body which is thrown vertically upwards. Now let us consider a time of ascent here. Time of ascent is nothing but the time taken by a body to reach its maximum height. Again, the initial velocity towards is vertical direction is u sine theta. Since it is a time considered up to the maximum height, at maximum height, the velocity is final velocity. Since the body is traveling from here to here, it will have initial velocity. It will have the final velocity of this object will be 0 at this point here. So the final velocity will be 0 here. Since the body is going upwards, its acceleration is considered as minus g, and time t is equal to ta. Substituting these values in the equation of motion, v is equal to u plus at, you will get ta is equal to u sine theta by g here. Now what happens if you substitute the value theta is equal to 90 degrees here, sine 90 is equal to 1, then you will get a ta is equal to u by g, which is the time of ascent of a body which is thrown vertically upwards. So next part is the time of descent. Time of descent is the time taken by a body to reach the ground from maximum height. So it is the time taken by a body to reach the ground from here to here. This is the displacement traveled by the object in that time of descent. So from here the initial velocity will be 0, the final velocity is taken here. So the initial velocity is considered as 0, the displacement here is S max here, it is at H max here, that is the maximum height. Then the acceleration A, since it is falling here, the acceleration is considered as plus g. The time taken is t d here. It should be t d. There is a typing mistake here. It should be t d. So it is the, let us find out the time of displacement here. Sorry, time of descent here. Substituting these values in the equation S is equal to ut plus half at square, you will get H max is equal to 0 into Td plus half. There should be half here. Sorry, typing mistakes. Half GTd square. So we know that H max value is u square sine square theta by 2g, that is equal to half GTd square. Half 2 cancels here. Then you will get a u square sine square theta by g square. Td square is equal to u square sine square theta by g square, but we want only Td value. So Td is equal to square root of u square sine square theta by g square, or u sine theta by g, which is nothing but time of ascent, which is also the time of ascent. So we have find out the time of ascent and the time of descent. Now we'll find out the time of flight, that is the time taken by the body to reach the ground after its projection. So this is the total displacement covered by the body here. So from here to here the time taken is called as time of ascent. From here to here it is called as a time of descent. So a time of flight is equal to time of ascent plus the time of descent. So t is equal to ta plus td, that is u sine theta plus g plus u sine theta by g, that is equal to 2u sine theta by g. That is the time of flight of a projectile in oblique projection. Now apart from the things here, we have to find out the horizontal range or the horizontal displacement made by the body on the ground. If you throw a body like this, we cannot measure the distance made by the body in air. So we will only measure its displacement or the displacement made by the body on the ground, which is called as horizontal range. So let us find out the formula for horizontal range here. The horizontal range here will be given by horizontal velocity into time of flight. So this is the horizontal velocity, because simply displacement is equal to velocity into time. We know that displacement is equal to velocity into time. So the velocity in this direction, that is the horizontal direction, we'll consider the velocity in this direction, that is the horizontal velocity, and the time taken for the body to reach from this point to this point is called as a time of flight. Therefore, we'll consider horizontal distance is equal to horizontal velocity into time of flight. R is equal to u cos theta. Horizontal velocity is u cos theta, and the time of flight is 2u sin theta by g. So if you reorder this equation by taking out u square, you get 2 sin theta into cos theta by g. But 2 sin theta cos theta is nothing but it is mathematical or trigonometric equation which is equal to sin 2 theta. Therefore, the horizontal range R is equal to u square sin 2 theta by g. This is the horizontal range, and this completes the kinematics chapter here. Now let us see, we have missed an important point here. If you keep theta is equal to 45, then this equation becomes maximum. Since 2 into 45 becomes 90 and sin 90 is equal to 1, it becomes u square by g. That is the maximum value here. Therefore, if you take theta is equal to 45, that is the range maximum for a projectile. This is an important question here. What is the angle of projection for maximum range? If the angle of projection is 45 degrees, then its horizontal range will be maximum. So this completes the chapter kinematics here. So this kinematics chapter is useful for polytechnic students and for 11th class students and those students who are preparing for a NEET and IITs. It can be used as for basics, for learn the basics of them. However, it does not cover the entire topics of dynamics for 11th CBSE students. So it might be useful only as a basic for them. So if you like the video, do not forget to like and subscribe. Do not forget to click on the like and subscribe button there. Thank you. Thanks for watching here.